What's up everybody, David here, welcome to another video. Today I thought I'd join the gallery of peanuts and give my thoughts on the recent rules and reffing and that whole shebang that was kind of triggered from the super match between Tim Bresnan and Matt Mask. I know basically everyone's discussed this to death, but there was a few thoughts that I had that I hadn't really heard anybody else discuss. So I thought I'd talk about them, put up some training footage from the other day, and have a chat. So my first thought, so some of these are just going to be thought bubbles, so take them for what you will. Also, if you have any ideas of your own or any comments, just put them down below, I'd love to hear them. My first thought is, if you're charging fee to view these matches, so it's a pay-per-view event, suddenly your priority as an organizer, not as an athlete, not as a ref, not as the person making the rules necessarily, as an organizer, your goal is that people get their money's worth, and people who didn't buy the pay-per-view feel like they're missing out. Basically, you want people to be happy with the money they've spent or dissatisfied with the fact that they didn't spend money. In the case of Tim Bresnan and Matt Mask, the only reason anybody would have wanted to buy the pay-per-view after the fact is just to check out how bad the match was and what everyone was complaining about. So in a way, maybe they made a sale or two from people being like, man, everyone's complaining about the reffing, so I'll check it out. And I'll pay for it. But then again, I heard that people were having a hard time even accessing the match after the fact. So yeah, if you are charging people money to watch your event, you better make sure that the event is watchable. And that applies to a lot of different things. One of the factors in this circumstance was the rules. If your rules are really strict and static and every little foul is going to be called, then those are kind of the matches you're going to get. There's a lot of different perspectives that people are putting out. You have the athletes, you have the referees, the organisers, and the viewers are the main ones that I see in the perspective they come up with. So you have the athletes who may be uncomfortable with the rules and they would like different rules. They prefer different rule sets because that's what they're more comfortable with. For example, the Western pullers perhaps more adjusted to loading and kind of looser with microfouls not being called, and the Eastern athletes are preferring a more strict or more accustomed to a stricter rule set. So that's their perspective. So when you get a lot of athletes giving their opinion, that's kind of what you're going to expect to hear on the rules issue. Just as you get athletes such as Travis Bagent loving tournaments for whatever reason, and Devin loving super matches for whatever reason, turns out their styles are suited to that format. And it's just going to be the same for athletes and the rule system they're accustomed to. So Eastern athletes complaining about, they need to play by the rules and they need to be strict. Take that with as much grain of salt as when they go over there and compete in WAL and complain about the loading. There's no universally correct way, it's just what people are used to, and they're going to argue for that. In this case, with Tim Bresnan and Matt Mask, I don't really hear either of them complaining about the rules. Virtually all the complaining came from viewers who said that was terrible to watch. We just wanted to see those two guys go at it, and it was constantly interrupted and it was slow and it was boring. So it's not a reflection on how pure the rule set is or whether anyone was cheated out of the match. The vast majority of the discussion is whether it was watchable. And I agree with the majority, is that it wasn't watchable. It wasn't very interesting and it wasn't exciting. And I love arm wrestling. I'm an arm wrestler, so I'm more invested in it For a casual viewer, that would have been exacerbated even worse. They wouldn't know what's going on, why it's so slow. It's not much of an action sport if it's stopped every 2 seconds and it's very static and dry. And I understand that perspective. So then the question is, what do you do to make the event more watchable? In my opinion, the PAL rules, the really strict rules, the microfouls being called, that kind of thing, is not viewer friendly. I think everyone has established that. It's just really boring to watch. It doesn't mean it's not fair. It doesn't mean anyone's being cheated. It just means that it's not very watchable. Another thing, with the fact that arm wrestling is decided by very small margins, and a referee is in control of a lot of that. In most sports, such as football, the refs make hundreds of decisions per game, and they may stuff up a few of them. But generally speaking, they're not influencing the outcome of the match hugely. In arm wrestling, a ref only has to make one bad decision, and there's not that many decisions to make, and can determine the outcome of the match. So the ref has a huge impact on a lot of the matches. Now, refs are also going to make mistakes. They're human, everyone makes mistakes. So in my view, you would want to make a rule set that is conducive to allowing a certain level of mistake by the ref and still have the athlete not feel like they're cheated. So certain things like running fouls, certain strap rules, those kind of things, how many fouls you allow, those things can be tweaked to allow for referee mistakes perhaps, and it not influence the outcome of the match quite so much. Another thing to consider is, how do we make arm wrestling a viable, by viable I mean monetarily viable sport? Viewers and sponsors is how money is introduced into a sport. If no one's watching, there's no money. If there's no sponsors, there's no money. People putting on events have to make a profit for it to be sustainable and for the sport to grow. For that to happen, people have to get their money's worth and feel like they got value for what they paid for. The money they paid, they got a return on that in some way. They saw a match that was amazing. It was entertaining, as simple as that. However, you can be certain from the athlete's point of view, they're going to follow the money. If there was $1 million league, whether it's WAL, PAL, if PAL was paying $1 million, every Western athlete would be flocking to that and trying to get in on it. They would be drilling strict reffing rules. That would become universal almost overnight if it was profitable, if there was a massive monetary injection into the sport. If there was $1 million, you could make a well-paying career off it. Everyone would flock to that. Since there's no money in arm wrestling whatsoever, then there are pockets all over the place of people preferring their rules here and preferring their rules there, because no one's really making any money anyway. The moment there's a massive amount of money, or there's a legitimate amount of money available, people will go to that league because that's where the money is. So all these athletes, all the strict European athletes, if they were getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, they would love WAL. You just know it, that's just the way it is. They would love that. However, if PAL, for example, is paying $1 million, are they going to get a return on that money if they don't change the rule system? All the athletes would flock to it, but would any spectators really want to see that? Because the rule set makes it very difficult to watch. So there has to be a balance there. The rule set has to be conducive to people watching it, and people not getting cheated out of the match, or the athletes not feeling like they're cheated out of the match. Some level of enforcement of rules, because it just can't be complete chaos and hard to follow. And it has to be profitable. Those things really will make a sustainable, watchable product that will grow the sport. And until that happens, we're kind of going to be stuck in the same phase, I think. To be honest, in my opinion, if anyone sets up a pay-per-view and it is PAL rule set, that no one's going to buy it, or they'll buy one and then they'll never watch it again. It's just the way it is. No one wants to watch it. I don't think PAL or WAL is more conducive to cheating and unfair matches. I think it's all about the referees, quality of the referees, and how well they enforce the rules that are set in place. I think WL refs can screw an athlete over just as well as PAL. So quality referees and good rules is the perfect combination. There's always room for fantastic referees, but they need a rule set that they can enforce strictly, but also have that end result of rule set enforced strictly still produces a very entertaining product. Anyway, guys, that's kind of my ramblings. I'd be keen to hear what you guys think, but thanks for watching. Appreciate you. See you in the next video.
And she's like, set her up. But I don't even think Ben has an ego. I don't think he has the internet to have an ego. Oh no, pretty strong. That's the scoop. You're saying I like scoop. Ben is terrible at training just because he's one of those people that are just so insanely strong that you can't budge them, but they also don't wrestle down to allow you to do anything.
Yeah, right.
So he won't bully and rip your arms off, but he'll just kind of sit here like this and he try and do things and he can't do anything.
Yeah.
But he won't be like, work with you, and he can't coach because he doesn't have. He'll just be like, oh, just hit the weights, get a bit stronger. When you ask him, he'll make sure what do you lift? And then when you try to play with that, he says, you know, you just do this.
Do not like doing
Fucking hell. Okay. But I just never, for him, I say his greatest weakness is his strength because it won't hold up at the highest level and he doesn't have a table like you to change something. When this doesn't work for him because he's a high looker, so he goes, and when